In this video, I'm going to talk about a few points that I've learned since taking my Shahada and becoming a Muslim, I think 9 months ago. So I've been a Muslim for a while. I'm still a new Muslim, but I think I have learned something and I want to share it with new Muslims or born Muslims as well. The number one thing I've learned would be that you must have a really strong foundation, which means that you must really know why are you becoming a Muslim, or why did you choose Islam as your religion. Throughout your journey as a Muslim, you will have many problems and you will face a lot of troubles, and sometimes you will wish that you weren't a Muslim or you weren't in this religion, and I don't know, just maybe that thought can cross your mind. And so that's why it's important to really ground yourself in something really strong. And so for me, that's a variety of reasons. One simply is a reminder why I chose Islam, and that's because death is coming. So I want to look long-term on my life and death, not just short-term and these short-term gratifications of this world. Also, I have a very strong foundation from sort of philosophical and cosmological arguments for the foundation of the universe and sort of the cause behind it that points to Allah. And the second thing is also, generally speaking, it's more rational position to be a theist. And as a theist, for me, Islam makes the most sense because of the Quran, because of the preservation, because of how simple Islam is, but how like effective it is, like in terms of like prohibiting riba, prohibiting gambling, prohibiting alcohol. Like, you can clearly see there are rules in place, but these rules are there for a reason, and those reasons are way beyond human intellect. So that's why I have a really core foundation. So whenever I have some issue or I don't feel, I don't feel right with something, I always come back, well, what's my alternative? There's no other alternative, right? So for me, Islam makes the most sense out of any worldview, so including atheism, agnosticism, Christianity, or any other religion. So I suggest you have that really strong foundation, and you don't just become a Muslim because you married somebody, or you, I don't know, something happened in your dream. Like, that's nice, and that happened to me as well, but you need to have other really strong building blocks to convert, because it's not a joke. In traditional Islam, you shouldn't think of leaving Islam at all. So when you choose Islam, you really should be choosing it with the mindset that I'm choosing this for life and my death. I'm not choosing this for 1 year, or I'm not choosing this to just check it out. It's a decision for life. For me, I practiced Islam before I chose to become a Muslim. So I was already praying and doing stuff, and I knew it's the truth. As I said, Islam has to be lived. It's not just a theory, and at some point you need to decide whether opt in or out. If you take a Shahada, just take it with a strong conviction, because you don't know many things, right? So you will have a lot of challenges. People will try poke holes in your worldview, especially your family, your friends, like, why is there slavery in Islam? Like, you need to explain that, man. Or why are women covered? Like, what's that about? And if you say well, no, Islam is just love, that's not good enough. And that's not true, actually. So you need to really have foundation for not justifying, for explaining, basics, 5 pillars, Tawheed. Why is Quran better than Bible? My uncle always asked me, why are you guys blowing up things and are terrorizing our white Europeans? Well, I need to answer that in some way, right? So you need to have these prepared, and you need to know why are there deviations in Islam as well. So a lot of studying ahead of you, right? Another thing with your foundations being strong is ex-Muslims. Like, ex-Muslims or people who don't like Islam will attack you if you are public with your faith, as I am. And maybe you need to know the arguments they use, and you need to be kind of strong, because for me in the beginning it was very difficult when some ex-Muslims argument are really simple, okay, what about the Prophet's wife age, or what about the killing of, I don't know, this many people there? And you need to know the context of those things and why did it happen, and really understand, look at it through the lens of Islam. I suggest you don't start with the most controversial things in Islam, maybe for you, but slowly you work there, because if you don't, you will have a blind spot in your knowledge, and it can be exposed, and it will create many doubts in your mind, which then can lead to apostasy. Basically, you leave Islam because you can't justify it rationally. How is there violence in the Quran if there's this, like you need to know why certain verses were revealed and in what context. And yeah, that's also something you need to work on. So I suggest you study, read a couple of books, and maybe watch some scholars online to clarify these things for you. Because coming into Islam, you're essentially changing your value system, and you're no longer kind of liberal in a sense. You must become more conservative in a way, because you're not guiding yourself by the principles of man or society, but you're submitting to the will of the Creator, and He knows best, and the morality comes from Him. So that's why you need to adjust your moral compass. Which brings me to another thing. All right, so the second point is to get your basics right. So when I talk about basics, of course, the number one thing is the prayer, because that's your connection to Allah, and you should have that ready and work on that for a few months, because I know it took me a long time, and there was many times in that period where I wanted to quit, because I didn't know how to recite Al-Fatiha. I didn't know the meaning. I was already constantly making mistakes. I didn't know how to do properly wudu. I had many problems, even when I watched it on YouTube where I talked to born Muslims. I just couldn't figure it out, the prayer. And I didn't know what is dua and what's the difference between that and salah and how the timing works and why is Fajr here, what is the sunrise, what does it mean? You tell me it's 5 prayers, but I see 6 on my calendar. Like, there's all these questions that no one is really giving you an answer for. Then I found out that, like, oh, you can make your Jummah prayer, your like afternoon prayer as well. Like, what? And all these things are like there, everybody knows them, but like you're new, you don't know anything. So like it's really important to really learn the basics. So what I did, I printed out basically the Arabic things, and I tried the pronunciation of Al-Fatiha, which is the core. You need to know Al-Fatiha either way. And that's like, you don't need to learn everything. Like, you just need Al-Fatiha. Of course, all the bowing and every movement has to be proper, and you need to learn what cancels the wudu and all these things. So I would suggest really work on that basics. Just getting this right will take you a couple of months. I promise you, because you will forever. Like, I just found out, I think a few months after I already was a Muslim, that farting actually prevents stops wudu, and I didn't know that. So I was like, dang. So I needed to adjust, right? And then it became more difficult, and it seems like it never stops. It always gets more difficult. But I promise you, after a few months, you will arrive at this altitude of like, okay, now I get it. I can do 5 daily prayers. Okay, I know the wudu, I know the times. It's making sense now. All right, I'm good. And so it doesn't get more difficult always. Just the beginning is very much difficulty, very much, especially with the Arabic language. So yeah, just get the basics right, and the prayer is number one by any means. Another thing is praying on time. You know, maybe you know how to pray, you're not praying on time. Improve that. Maybe you're missing your Fajr, your morning prayers. Try to improve that. It's the most important thing in your life. Try to do the Fajr prayer. You want to sleep, you get yourself out of the bed and you pray. Another thing of moving forward is like read Quran weekly, at least like 2-3 times a week. Just pick it up, read a page, and because it's Allah talking to you. Otherwise you just talk to Allah through your prayers. But besides watching videos and everything, look at the Quran and just reflect on it, read it, and yeah, that's definitely something you need to do. Maybe listen to it as well. There's recitations online, and then also have a translation. It's very impactful. I would say that's actually the pure Quran, where somebody's reciting it and you actually understand the meaning. That's when it has the most impact. But also read it out, because that gets you closer to Allah. So definitely recommend that at least a few times a week. Also, and by getting the basics right, I also mean fasting. Try it out before doing Ramadan, or if you are going into Ramadan like I did. I became a Muslim, and just few weeks after, or month or something, there was a Ramadan. I did it, but it was very difficult. But definitely you need to partake in it, because you are obliged to do it. It's not like a choice you have. So if you live in a city and there's a mosque, try to attend Friday prayers. And I tried to basically be in the Muslim mindset and surrounded by Muslim, even if you don't understand whatever they're saying, like you don't know Arabic, nothing, just like be there, because Jummah is like an obligation on a Muslim man, especially if you're a woman, you don't have to do this. Try to go every Friday and make it a priority. And for me, Jummah is like a day off. Like my Fridays are for Jummah. And so I made it like a switch in my head, and Fridays are sort of like days off almost. Another point is to surround yourself with Muslims. Spend time in the mosque, but I would actually suggest you to go there for normal prayers where there's not many people. Maybe 5 or 10 people show up for a normal Isha prayer or Maghrib prayer. That's great. You can make a lot of friends, and when I joined a local mosque, I always showed up for these smaller prayers, and I made a lot of friends, and yeah, like really good friendships. And we hang out even outside of the mosque. We play football sometimes, or we go for a tea or whatever. So you make real friends who are Muslim, who then can hang out with you, because you need to surround yourself with some Muslims. And where I live, there are none. At my work and my family, nowhere. So I'm the only one. I need them around me to really let me know like I'm not crazy. So that's something I would definitely suggest. Going to Friday Jummah is great advice. So you will become part of the Ummah, but you will not understand what the Imam is saying. Anyways, besides the point, just go there, soak up the atmosphere of the Jummah, and then hang out with some Muslims. That's my advice. Maybe go to the Imam and shake his hand and say like, great khutbah, like I'm a new Muslim, thanks, let me know what's up. Visit your halal shops. So I know all the halal shops in Prague. You know, just become part of the community in some sense, so that people know like this guy is a new Muslim, we should treat him well. This is how you eat halal, let's say. I never knew what halal means. Like, so try to make it a habit, maybe twice a week, show up for Isha, once a week for Jummah, and inshallah you'll get the closeness of real Muslims, not just online Muslims, but real Muslims will start to show up in your life. But make sure those are good Muslims, of course. You know, in the future, maybe inshallah, try to say, okay, I'm gonna just check out a Muslim country and just go. Like I did visit Turkey twice this year, and it was a game-changing experience for me, and I've never felt so many emotions in my life. So I suggest you make that intention, like, hey, I'm not gonna go to like Mecca, but I'm just gonna go to like Turkey or whatever country just for vacation. And in the meantime, I'm going to check out some mosques and see like, okay, what is this Islam really like implemented in a, let's say, Islamic country, even though it's secular. So that's my advice as well, to see Islam really applied in some form in a culture that is Islamic. So in Islam, there's a ton of sects. So you have Salafis, you have Wahhabis, you have Sufis, you have Sunnis, you have Shias. You have all these things, and you let's say you become a Muslim and you're like, what am I? What's going on? I have no idea what's happening. I think Quran is from Allah and Muhammad is his final messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. But besides this, I have no idea what these guys are doing. Why is there this guy saying that maybe some of the caliphs was like his successor? Like, you don't even know what's going on, right? And Sufis are dancing, Salafis are really, really strict, and they have a long beard, and so you will be very confused, like, what should I do? I'm telling you, stay out of every one of those things. You need to learn for yourself first. Go and practice basic Islam, which is true for all these things. We all have the same Quran. We all pray the same way. We all fast the same way. We all visit the Hajj the same way, basically. So that's all common. Like 95% of things Muslims have across these sects, these are like common things. But then there are these differences, and many people focus on them, and I hate this. Like, I really hate this. Even though I know they are not correct, I'm not in a position to say that something is incorrect, and maybe it leads to a lot of conflict. And conflict, I don't think it's good for this Islamic society, because we're already under attack. Like, why are we fighting each other? This doesn't make any sense. So for me, I think as a convert, you fall under the Sunni Islam. So basically, you're following the Quran and the Sunnah. And basically, at some point, you might say, like, okay, I'm getting real with this, and I'm growing a long beard, I'm becoming a Salafi. And that's fine if you want to do that, and you're following the early Salafs and Caliphs. Do that, and yeah, like, you can choose any way you want. But be careful, because you need to know the basics, and the basics about Tawheed, about Allah's oneness and all these things, so that it doesn't contradict Islam, because that's very important. I'm still trying to figure out what I am. I really don't like when conversations revolve around what sect are you. You're a Muslim, you pray 5 times a day, you did your Shahada, inshallah, you're my brother or sister. Nothing else matters. Whatever your disagreement with me is, that's fine. Like, we can disagree on how to do dawah, or you have like these super ultra liberal modern Muslims who think like gay people can become Muslim and we can promote LGBT in Islam. And then you have these ultra conservative guys. And so, of course, this is not correct. Like, goes against the basic teachings. And this is maybe taking everything literally with no context behind it, where you don't realize that some of the verses and some of the hadiths were actually said in a context. So you need tafsir, you need basically an explanation of the verse from a scholar. And these scholars exist. So you need to study, and that's why signing up for a real online university and getting like a basic understanding of Islam is very crucial, and I inshallah plan to do that. But besides that, just read a lot of books, try to learn it, and within time you'll see like, okay, I feel that the early generation of Muslims was correct, and we should disregard all the Sharia and all the like Muslim state and just wait for Isa, for Jesus to come back and establish it. Okay, that's your view, then go do that. Maybe you feel like, no, this is rubbish, like we should follow one of the 4 madhabs, and we should, like, schools of thought, and we should really figure out fiqh, which is the understanding of Sharia, and apply it also on a governmental level and across society. If you want to do that, go there. But there are extremes. Like, you can be an extreme modernist, where you basically destroy the religion, or you can be an extreme Islamist, I would say, where you actually say like, everyone who's not like me, I'm gonna like say like they are not Muslims, and except Muslims, like everyone else is evil, like Christians or atheists, like we need to get rid, and that can lead to extremism, and that can happen. Like, I promise you, there are people like this, crazy people. Of course, these are very small groups. And in either case, you need to remember, I would suggest looking at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and really seeing how he lived and how he dealt with non-Muslims and Muslims and everything like that. Because whatever happened in the Islamic history is already kind of outside of that. And yeah, it's a very complicated question, but I would suggest stay out of sects and just try to get your hands on Islam first. And if you joined, let's say, a Salafi mosque or this mosque, like, take it with a grain of salt. Just, okay, listen to them, but do your own thing. And then with time, decide, like, if you think this is the correct interpretation. Since you became a Muslim, you're now part of the Ummah, right? You are part of the Muslims around the world. And everybody expects you now to get involved in politics and maybe support Palestine, or maybe do this and that. And maybe you have no idea what's going on in Israel and Palestine. You have no background into the conflict. And maybe you just heard first time in your life that there's a genocide in China against Muslims, and we should help them. Like, all these things will be new for you. So, I would suggest staying out of politics as much as you can. But at some point, you need to realize that you are part of the Ummah. And we definitely have an obligation to help each other in some way. So at some point, try to catch up on your learning, especially when it comes to Muslim history and wars and colonialism that happened. And also the wars that are currently being done in the Middle East, like why was there an Iraq invasion, Afghanistan, all these things you need to pay attention to understand what's happening. So I would definitely advise you to understand the political situation, but I wouldn't really focus on it, because it creates a lot of problems, especially with Islam, because it's also a political system, and people who justify that can get in a lot of trouble. So just understand the context of Islam in this modern world right now. Islam is not popular, it is under attack, Muslims are dying around the world, so that's the reality right now. My last piece of advice is, remember, at the end of the day, Allah chose you, because you weren't guided by your own whatever thoughts. it was Allah that chose you, because there are people who can hear the same arguments as you did. There are people who can have the same experience and still decide to disbelieve, or they still decide to not accept the truth that Muhammad did receive the revelation, peace and blessings be upon him, and that the Quran is the word of Allah. So you were open to that, but Allah guided you. So never forget that. That's the most important thing to keep in your mind, because it can happen that you can be misguided and Allah will not guide you anymore. So you are very lucky, you've been blessed, because there are people who are Muslim and they don't appreciate it, and maybe they've left Islam, they don't practice it, they can't even find path towards Allah again, they can't connect. You can now, you just need a more understanding, and know that Allah chose you, and you are the most lucky person ever, because you've been chosen for a reason. I don't know what that reason is, and this should really cement your faith. And I wish you all the best. I will have part 2 of some other advice or other points, but this was advice from me as a European Slovak Muslim living in Prague, Czech Republic, surrounded by non-Muslims at work, and my family, my wife, everybody's non-Muslim. And yeah, I've been struggling a lot with many things, but inshallah I got through it, and you can too. And with some time you can build an identity and really say, like, confidently, I'm a Muslim, which is where I believe I am at this point, where I can say, like, yes, I'm a Muslim. Like, I don't drink, I don't do this, and I'm set. I'm not coming back until, yeah, I need to keep myself in check. My whole life I need to be in check so that I don't commit sin or whatever, prefer my desires against the akhirah. But if you can do that, you'll be on the right path. And yeah, hopefully this video helped someone out there. And if you have any questions that I haven't discussed, feel free to drop me a comment. And if I made any mistake, that's from Shaitan. And if anything good was said, it's not from me, but it's from Allah. So thank you so much for watching this. Assalamu alaikum, and I'll see you in the next video.